welcome back to Scottish and Scared. I'm your host Stephanie, here to tell you all the weird and wonderful things about my wee country Scotland. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can send us an email at scottishandscared@gmail.com, follow us on Instagram at scottishandscaredpod, or head over to our website scottishandscared.com for all of our links and anything else that you may need. If you wouldn't mind, please rate, review and comment wherever you may be listening. It does help us out a lot. Now, on to the show. Hello my lovely people, how are we all doing? Hope you are all well, as always. Things have been a bit wild for me the last few months, honestly, but would you expect anything less? I am going to be updating you and venting about what I've been up to, so as always, toddle on if you couldn't care less. I'm also recording this before HorrorCon, so I will update you on how that went in the next episode. So the first major thing that happened involved more work with the Marie Curie in Glasgow. As you may know, my mum spent her last moments at the Marie Curie Hospice here in Glasgow, and they were an absolute godsend throughout that experience, and they still are to this day, honestly. Because of that, I have been trying to do as much as I can to help them spread awareness and raise some money, as they are a charity-run organisation. So far, it's been going swimmingly. The campaign that I took part in last year raised over £500,000, which is absolutely insane. And I'm very proud that I was able to do that for them. And this year, they wanted to continue that work and asked me to take part in an event celebrating their 40th Daffodil Appeal. I jumped at the opportunity because a childhood icon, of mine was also involved. Mr. Paul Chuckle. For those of you who don't know, Paul is one half of the Chuckle Brothers, and they were kind of like a comedy duo who had a very popular children's show in the 90s, early noughties, called Chucklevision. It was always on in our house after school, and it followed the brothers as they got up to all sorts of shenanigans and mischief, and it was just kind of like a silly, feel-good show. Sadly, in 2018, Paul's brother Barry actually spent some time at the Marie Curie, and he actually passed away. And kind of since that day, Paul went on to become an ambassador. So he's been doing fundraising and events and all the good stuff ever since. And this year, he wanted to do a tour called the Me to Go Tour, where he would travel from John O'Groats in Scotland to Land's End in England. And along the way, he would stop at the major cities to do some fundraising, and he would also be interviewing someone from each city that the Marie Curie had impacted in some way or another. So of course I was the interviewee for Glasgow, and I got to sit with Paul in the Chucklemobile and just have a really nice chat about my mum and the music that she enjoyed, and it was just a very fun, light-hearted conversation. If you would like to see the full interview, you can head over to the Marie Curie's Instagram or Facebook and you can give it a wee watch. It was a lovely day. Paul and his wife are amazing people. They're so warm and they just put me right at ease with everything. And the work that he's doing, the money that he's raising is fantastic. But as rewarding and positive as all this was, it was very, very draining. Now, I love working with him. It's something I've never done before, and it's great experiencing new things. But it does bring up emotions that sometimes get on top of me, and that's kind of where I've been for the last wee while. I'm really trying to be as consistent as possible with this, but sometimes I just don't have the mental space for it. It's a lot of time and a lot of effort to research these places and things that I talk about, and then I have to put it all together and fact check everything, record it, edit it and upload. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, especially when you have a 1-year-old as well, running an absolute muck. But I do love it, and I will continue to do it for as long as possible. But I just wanted you to know that I'm not just picking it up and dropping it whenever I feel like it. It's just really hard sometimes to find the time and the motivation to do it. The messages that I get from people in the time in between is really what pushes me to keep going with it. I'm a very small fish in a very big pond, but the fact that I've made a difference to people's day kind of makes it all worth it. And obviously I love to chat with you too. As well, I do have ADHD. I've talked about this before. I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 11. I'm in my 30s now, and sometimes I think that is a factor in me just kind of closing down and not really doing anything, to be honest. But I'm getting a lot better at it now, and I'm kind of breaking out of that cycle. So yeah, I just wanted you to know that I do not abandon you willingly. It's just sometimes it's a bit much. But outside of my mental situation, my laptop did also decide that it was time to say the final goodbye. She was very old, bless her, and she was very slow, and as much as I loved her, it was destroying my soul to work with her. And essentially, I had no means of doing the work for the show either. So my lovely developer boyfriend just swooped in and he gifted me a ThinkPad. He loves ThinkPads, talks about them all the time, points them out when we're watching TV. I have no idea why. I'm not a tech person, but it's so much better than my old one. So essentially we are back in business. I've been retrieving all of my notes so we can resume as normal, and it's going amazingly. Although I will say I was a bit annoyed because my old laptop has a lot of stickers on it from my tattoo artist and just other various things that I've picked up at conventions and other things like that. So I was a wee bit annoyed because I can't take the stickers off. So now I need to start again on a new laptop. But Dell, my tattoo artist, has sent me a wee package with loads of stickers in it. So I'm on the way. I'm on the way. And I'm sure that I'll get loads more at HorrorCon. So panic over. Just a wee bit more that I've been doing in my personal life, and I don't actually think I've ever spoke about stuff like this, but I love games, like gaming. I don't really like that term, it makes me cringe a bit, but I am a big gamer. I kind of lean more to the horror side of gaming, obviously. So yeah, I played the new Resident Evil 9 Requiem. Honestly, personal favourite of the series at this moment in time, but I just think that's because Leon was back, if I'm being perfectly honest. But if you played, get in touch and let me know what you thought of it. I would consider myself a gamer. But yeah, so it would be nice to talk about that now and again. I don't really think I've ever spoke about games on this show, but yeah. So it was my boyfriend's first time playing a Res game, which is bananas, and he loved it too. So I honestly can't believe he's never played the Res game. Absolute sacrilege, but he loved it as well. If I'm being honest, I think the very first Resident Evil game will always be my favourite just because it has like that wee sentimental part in my heart. Watched my dad play it as a kid, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a horror game, and I was absolutely terrified. So that has this wee nostalgia feel for me, but 7 is probably my favourite, honestly, because it's the scariest in my opinion. But neither here nor there. Don't want to bore anybody that doesn't like games, but if you are a gamer and you like horror games specifically, then yeah, let me know what you thought of the new Res game. Now that is all the personal shenanigans I've been up to while I've been away, but there is also some show related stuff that I've been working on that I would like to share. We now have a YouTube channel. The link will be in the description, or you can just search us on there and we will pop up. So please and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. Right now we are just uploading our back catalogue of audio, but we are going to be doing some video content down the line. We do have a few places that we're visiting. I've been asked to go to Edinburgh. Planning on doing a tour in Edinburgh as well with my friend Owen. And I am going to Chillingham Castle in England at the end of the year, so I'm hoping that I can get in the swing of this and I can start doing a wee bit of video content as well. So I would really appreciate your support with that, so please go subscribe. And yes, that is all from me and my chaotic life. Let's talk ghosts, ghouls, and of course Scotland. So today I'm going back to my roots and I'm talking about a beautiful Scottish castle. Before I do so, I would like to say a massive thank you to the people over at Closeburn Castle. I did reach out to them, which is something that I do with all the locations that I talk about. I just like to see if the people would be interested in telling their own stories, or maybe some history or facts that you can't really find through research. Let me just say, almost none of the people that I get in contact with respond to me. That is absolutely fine. They have no obligation to, and I don't feel like I'm owed a response for anybody or anything like that. But the lovely folks at Closeburn did respond. We had a great conversation, they were so nice, and I love that they have completely leaned into this building's history, family ties, and even the darker side of that history, which is rare with some of these places. So I think that's fantastic. So at the end of the episode, I'm going to tell you about some of the events they have coming up, their socials, and would highly recommend you go show them some support, and if you're interested, book a wee visit as well. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So in the lovely sprawling fields of Dumfries, you will find a beautiful tower house named Closeburn Castle. It is one of the oldest and still inhabited tower houses in Scotland. The land it's situated on was granted to the Kirkpatrick family in 1232, and the structure itself was built in either 1232 or later on, maybe closer to the 14th century. Sources are a bit unclear on that one. The building is an impressive stone tower house. The walls are about 10 feet and extremely thick. It was originally surrounded by a lock, which back in those days was perfect as a natural defence, and also I imagine it looked very pretty in the warmer months. It also had a dungeon, which All castles should have a dungeon, am I right? This dungeon was located under the foundations. It was cold, dark, wet, and vaulted behind 3-metre thick stone walls. And during the medieval period, it was mostly used to imprison border raiders, prisoners of war, and political rivals. It was not a nice place to be. Prisoners were shackled to the walls and treatment was not the best. Some were even forgotten about completely. For the most part, the Kirkpatrick family and their descendants were seated at Closeburn, and they are a very significant family when it comes to Scottish history. They played a major role in the Wars of Scottish Independence. Sir Roger Kirkpatrick was an ally of Robert the Bruce and said to have aided him in the murder of John the Red Comyn in 1306. So a very well-known name in Scotland at this time. The Kirkpatricks would reside there until 1738, when it was then sold to the Stuart Menteith family. Only 10 years later, a large fire would tear through a nearby mansion house and would also cause damage to the castle itself. As a result, the castle was in need of a massive renovations, and it was then sold back to the Kirkpatrick family in 1981, which is lovely that it's managed to make its way all the way back to them, although maybe not under the best circumstances, but still, I think that's really nice. Today, the castle is a private residence, still owned and occupied by members of the Kirkpatrick family. Like I said before, they have completely embraced the history of this building, which is refreshing. They host a variety of events such as tours, but the most interesting thing that I found is that they do escape rooms, which I just found so unique. An escape room that's in a castle that is potentially haunted is amazing. There are a few different themes that you can choose from, and of course they do ghost tours as well. If you're looking for a day out or a night out and you love Scottish history, I encourage you to go have a look at their events and book a wee visit. They are so lovely and I'm so happy to see them thriving. Like I said, I will link all of their socials and websites below, so please go check them out. Now, we wouldn't be talking about Closeburn if there wasn't any spooky goings on. That beautiful loch that once surrounded the castle was also the home of a very sinister swan. Every year during the warmer months, the loch would be bustling with wildlife, playing in the water and cooling off from the summer sun. The most famous of these critters were 2 stunning white swans. They would be seen every year swimming together on the water, and they became a sort of good luck charm for the Kirkpatricks. Good things would follow the sighting of these majestic birds. Swans are sometimes seen as signs of luck and purity, and in some cultures they are viewed as the messengers between worlds. Honestly, personally, I don't like swans. I think they're really aggressive, but you know. One day in the middle of summer, one of the Kirkpatricks was doing a bit of target practice around the grounds and for some unknown reason decided to shoot one of these swans. No one really knew why he'd done it. It may have been an accident, but it was more likely done for sport. When the rest of the family found out about it, they were not in the least bit happy. They had seen these swans year after year and had come to watch them lovingly, not to mention they thought they bestowed them with some otherworldly luck. The surviving swan returned the following year on its own, which is so sad, but it was not behaving like it usually would. It wasn't calling out, and it seemed very dazed and confused. Upon closer inspection, someone noticed that the feathers on its chest were stained red, which made them question, is this the surviving swan at all? Or is it the spirit of its dead partner? Whenever they tried to get close to it to investigate, they became extremely uncomfortable with a very eerie sensation coming over them. At that point, they decided to let it be and continued on with their lives. This is when the legend of the blood swan was birthed. The family believed that the killing of such a majestic creature had burdened them with a curse, and they would no longer receive the luck and fortune that they once did. Now, the sight of this swan, which was once warm and welcomed, sent chills down the spines of those who met its gaze. During its time in the loch, the family would experience periods of death, defeat in battle, and just major times of turmoil. And since that day, the swan was an omen of bad things to come. But as we know, the loch is not there anymore, so I don't know if people have ever seen this swan. It would be interesting to see if people had seen a random swan about the property, but yeah, the loch is gone, which means there's not many birds, well, water-dwelling birds in that area anymore. Even still, that is a very eerie story. So along with this sinister swan, there are many ghosts roaming the halls and grounds of Closeburn. The dungeon that we spoke about earlier is said to be the most active place inside the castle. This is where most people report experiences. People have heard phantom noises such as groans and the sound of heavy chains being dragged along the stone floor. There have been investigations, vigils, seances, all that jazz performed in the dungeon area where people have said they feel watched. The sound of whispers and moaning can be heard from the dark corners, during which the temperature will also drop suddenly as well. I think, given the nature of this space, it is a dungeon. People were held there against their will, starved, tortured. It's not really that hard to believe that there could be some pretty restless spirits floating around. There is also the apparition of a woman seen around the castle. Now, she's been named the Woman in Black. Who she is and what her connection to Closeburn is has never really been identified, but it's obvious that she must have been a pretty prominent figure within the household. She's usually seen in the darker parts of the castle, rooms and corridors that are eerily dim. She's also been seen floating in and out of the dining room, although strangely she is unsettlingly quiet. She makes no sound whatsoever, but noises tend to be heard as she moves throughout the castle. So people have stated that they hear whispers, dogs barking, bangs, scratches, all this kind of stuff when she is present, but she's not the one that's actually causing the noise. So yes, a woman in black. But that is all the ghosties that I could find and the stories behind them. But I'm sure that the owners would be happy to share their personal experiences if you do pay them a wee visit or book one of their tours. I would love to interview them in the future and hear some of their stories for myself. Like I said, it's very rare that I see a Scottish castle that's owned independently by people who are willing to lean into the whole haunted castle thing. Not that they have to, but I think there is a huge market for people wanting to learn about the history and all the death and the ghosts that come with that. And I love being able to talk about it with them. But yes, that is all I have for you in terms of ghosts and dungeons. Please go subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Closeburn's socials and website. I'm sure they would appreciate that massively. But that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one where we are going to be talking about a pretty famous cursed doll. Yes, so I will see you later. Stay weird, stay scared. Bye, folks.